Have you ever wondered how your sales performance compares against your competitors and peers? The B2B Sales Benchmark Report provides the definitive guide to what success looks like in 2021. See how you compare in terms of win rate, sales cycle, average deal value, relationships, and engagement. You can see the results and get the full report at ebsta.com/B2B-sales-benchmarks. This is Sales Ops Demystified, the #1 most downloaded podcast in sales operations. We invite the brightest minds in sales operations onto the show to deconstruct the why, what, and how behind rep productivity, forecasting, metrics, and all things revenue. This podcast is brought to you by Ebsta, the leading customer engagement platform for Salesforce. Hello and welcome to another very special episode of the Sales Ops Demystified podcast. We are joined by a very special guest today. Over 12 years experience in the sales ops space, 4 years specifically in SaaS sales ops. Jeffrey Davis of Baker Hill, welcome to the show.
Hello, thanks for having me.
So let's kick it off. How do we first get into sales ops? Because I have been looking at your work history and previous roles have been sales ops related, but weren't actually called sales ops. So how did you get into this in the first place?
Yeah, so very unique experience. I entered my senior year of college not having no idea what I wanted to do outside of, being in some sort of business role. So my senior year, we had a capstone project. Thought I would get into IT consulting, and really that was the track and what I was really targeting. So went through all kinds of interviews at the end of my senior year and really found out that, being a consultant, traveling wasn't necessarily what I really wanted to do. So I ended up landing a sales reporting analyst role, very junior level, at Angie's List. And that was on the sales operations team, kind of underneath that umbrella. And kind of really learned this whole new world of the workings behind the scenes on how to support sales from, building up the funnel, working those leads, converting them into opportunities, turning them into signed contracts, then getting people paid, the whole contracting process and really learning how the CRM works within an organization.
Got it. So you were like, I don't want to be the traveling consultant that's doing boring client work. I want to get stuck in with one business. And you entered in as a sales reporting analyst, actually, that gave you exposure to the whole sales process.
Exactly. Yep. I loved knowing my customers were at the same organization, someone I could go out, have a beer with after work. And I found that, in my experience, when you're able to establish those types of relationships, especially with the sales teams you're supporting, it makes changes and just overall communication much better.
Got it. And you said something interesting there. I think you said that having your customers at the same organization, you're referring to your salespeople, right?
Yes. Anyone that I support or help out, I view them as my own customers. Some of my early managers had that mindful approach, and it kind of rubbed off on me. And like I said, it holds myself accountable to the organization and the folks that I'm working with.
Got it. And do you see yourself having any other customers in the organization apart from the sales team?
Yes. I've found that, in a sales ops role, I know there's kind of this movement into a revenue operations where it includes finance, includes marketing. But prior to that kind of evolution, I found the benefits of finding partners, finding mentors in other areas of the organization, because you get to share ideas. What's working in one place, maybe you can apply, the basic skeleton of that process, or leverage technology that other areas of the business are using to help sales. What you find out with conversations is, in some way, everyone within the organization is either supporting or relying on sales. So anything you can do to make sales more efficient, close more deals, close bigger deals, close bigger projects is going to help, the services team. It's going to put bring money within the organization, and give, that kind of learning story to help the marketing department. What's working, what's not working, what could we be doing better, what kind of messaging should we be changing? So it's been a fun and ever evolving sales operations world for me.
Got it. And I totally agree. Like, the sales team is in my opinion, the team that's at the forefront of the interface between the business and the customer. Yeah, you have customer service, right? But I think the sales team get more, because they're at the interface where we're converting prospects to customers. They get so much information, right? And so yep. I totally agree when you're saying that marketing relies on sales, because marketing are interfacing with customers, but they don't get as much info, like sending loads of emails, right?
Exactly.
So I totally agree. Current sales ops tech stack at Baker Hill.
Yep. So we are a Salesforce.com shop. It was implemented about a year before I started, and not implemented maybe the best way. It was a big data dump from our old internal CRM into the new Salesforce. So when I brought on, that was one of my first projects, was to clean that up. So we deleted nearly 2,000 fields from Salesforce that just were either duplicate field information or just not being used at all anymore. So major cleanup. So we use that as our CRM, manage our pipeline, report our sales. Our finance department uses NetSuite for all of our RevRec, things like that. Our marketing team uses Pardot, which we have a direct connection into Salesforce. So that way our sales reps can see the marketing events that are going on. So the messaging being sent out, who's coming to webinars, things like that. We use Loopio for our RFP process. That's on my desk as well. So whenever we participate in RFPs, I use the tool called Loopio, where I can assign our subject matter experts and assign it to them. They get an email saying, "Hey, you've been assigned this section of the RFP." They add their responses, they send it back to me, then we export it back out into our standard RFP responses. We also use a tool called Insight Squared for a lot of our visualization tools, mainly automated emails that go out on a weekly, monthly, and quarterly basis that go out to our executive team, that reports on the health of the pipeline, the health of the bookings. Also kind of a competitive feature to show how everyone is trending to their annual quota. It stack ranks everybody, and so you can see who's at the top of the leaderboard and who's kind of close, just to build that kind of competitiveness within our sales structure.
Got it. Awesome. A pretty comprehensive tech stack. I assume that you're responsible for data quality. Yes. Yeah.
Myself, well, I'm lucky enough. I partner with a few folks from our IT team. Our Salesforce administrator is actually on the IT umbrella, which is good. I would love for him to be on my team, but understand that with our entire organization using Salesforce, that if he was on our team, he would pretty much be 100% dedicated to sales and ignoring everybody else. So the other good thing is our client base is their financial institutions. So all that, most of that data is public record. So we use two different resources where we export reports and then do a quarterly update to our data quality. But ultimately, outside of that, we're reliant on our sales development team, our sales reps, that as they engage with clients, prospects, what have you, that any changes that are made in the financial world, there's a lot of acquisitions and mergers. So we do a pretty good job of, finding out about acquisitions and mergers, typically shortly before they happen, but we rely on our sales team to loop us in or notate that within the account records themselves.
Got it. Now moving on to your relationship with the sales team, how are you currently working to make them more productive?
Yeah, so I've been lucky enough. I'm in a role where we have roughly, I think we have 13 sales reps. So I have a pretty good relationship one-on-one with each of them. I talk to them on a regular basis, but really engaging them in, what's working well, where are they getting stuck on deals, what troubles are they seeing within Salesforce itself. So I meet, like I said, I meet with them on a regular basis and ask for their input. Hey, what would you like to see? What's missing? What you work with active clients, you work with prospects all the time. What are questions you're getting that you need to have, be battle ready for when those questions come about? And let's see how we can get that in the system and easily visible. And then, like I said, at the beginning of this year, we rolled out a new sales methodology. So we kind of rebuilt our whole opportunity structure within Salesforce to follow that sales methodology. So we went from, we moved to being more but the client's buying process specific. So to advance an opportunity a stage in our Salesforce, you have to check off all the exit criteria for each stage. Excuse me. So we've got that built within Salesforce. You check the box, you put any notes on there. And that kind of has helped us learn a lot this year as to what works versus what doesn't in our sales process, especially against competition.
Got it. So I'm hearing in the first part of what you just said that you're able to understand how to improve the rep performance because you have a one-on-one relationship with all 13. What do you think? I assume Baker Hill is going to may scale in the next few years. What are you going to do when you won't have that one-to-one relationship?
Yeah, I think so. I've been there before with Angie's List. I started there. I think there was like 200 total employees, and then when I left there, we were up over 1,200. So sales team grew from 30, 40 people where you didn't necessarily have that one-on-one relationship, but you knew a lot of the players and kind of met everybody through some sort of process. But as you scale, you grow bigger. Obviously, you hear from certain individuals who are more outgoing and asking for help. But really, as you scale, if you can have that partnership, maybe not at the rep level, but at the management level. So section managers, directors, keeping that partnership, ever evolving those lines of communication. And a lot of times what I've found has been successful is try to get invited to the team meetings. I may not go to every single one, but it is nice to show up and just listen, hear what those folks are saying is working, what's not working, where they need help. And then after that team meeting, I kind of schedule a quick one-on-one with the manager or the director and just say, hey, this is what I heard. This is what I think, what kind of changes we can make to the system to help your folks out and kind of get their buy-in and then have them communicate it to their team and then relay any kind of feedback that way. So you kind of move up a level as you grow. So you try to keep a one-on-one relationship with the entire sales org, just maybe not at the individual level.
Got it. And on that point, when you do look to change something within the sales process or some tiny, it could be small or it could be large, how do you go about getting the sales team to buy into that change?
Yeah. So what I've found that works, almost 100% of the time is you get everyone involved in the process, and maybe not everyone, but you get a few individuals involved, typically some top performers, some mid-level performers, and even some kind of lower performers. You sell them on the idea of the change, get their feedback, because obviously, me, who's not on the phones every day or on the front lines making sales, it's much easier for me to say, oh, this will work. But if you get their feedback, their direct feedback, and include them, let them be a part of the change process, and you get their buy-in that when you roll it out to the entire team, you're going to have some internal champions that will spread the good, say, hey, this helped me do this better, or say, hey, I struggled last quarter, but now my numbers have increased, or what have you, or hey, instead of spending 2 hours to prep for a solutions workshop, we do enough at discovery that we can get the solutions workshop to be prepped in 30 minutes or what have you.
Got it. Moving on to forecasting, what's your role in that process?
Yeah, so it's again another evolving process here at Baker Hill. It used to be a data dump from Salesforce into an Excel spreadsheet the morning of the forecast call. So it was typically, hey everyone, I'm running the report at 9 a.m. Eastern time. So any changes you have to your pipeline, get those in. I actually send the Excel file to leadership at 9:30 Eastern. So if there's any emergency changes that you need, get them to me before 9:30. And then, of course, you roll into the forecast call, and there's always changes that didn't get communicated outwards. So here in the past 60 days, we have actually moved that into Salesforce. So we run our weekly forecast calls out of a Salesforce dashboard that looks at current month, current quarter, next month, next quarter. And we kind of talk about those deals. So we also label every opportunity as a commit, meaning, yep, this deal is actually happening in the time frame I have it labeled as. Realistic means it's in play, everything's trending well. There's just one or two key pieces before we get final sign off on the deal. And then we also have best case, meaning it's not likely, but I haven't given up hope on it. If all the stars align, this deal could still happen this month, this quarter, what have you. So as we go through the forecast call, we kind of talk about recent wins that happened in the past week. Talk about the commits. Hey, is there any change? Do you need anything to finally get that signature by end of day tomorrow or first thing Monday morning? Excuse me. And then we kind of focus on the realistic. All right, these are still in play. What do you need from us as a leadership team? And the good thing about still being small is our executive team listens in on the forecast calls, and they're always saying, "Hey, what do you need from us? How can we support you?" And check off those final boxes on these opportunities.
Got it. So on that forecasting call, all the sales, all of the sales reps and the sales leadership and the exec team.
Yep.
Got it. And then, so feedback, so basically the sales reps are reporting up, and then feedback is coming down from leadership and exec team, kind of offering help or asking specific questions.
Correct. Yep. So typically by the end of the month and quarter, there's a couple deals that are on everyone's radar, and we're calling those out. Hey, what's happening? Are we still on pace? Is everyone adhering to the success plan that you have in place with that opportunity? Just kind of focusing on what can we do as an organization to better support that sales rep to get those deals across the finish line.
Got it. KPIs. What in the 12 years of sales ops experience, what has been a KPI that you particularly enjoy?
So my favorite KPIs are, not only win rates, but close loss reasons. So why are we losing deals? Where are we losing them in the sales process? Who are we losing it to? Those are my favorite. That's pretty much the tried and true. Every board meeting, every annual review is, what's our win rate? Those that we've lost, why have we lost them? Who have we lost them to? And getting that competitive information, and again, kind of incorporating the entire organization, going back to marketing and saying, all right, how do we highlight what we do best as an organization that our competitors can't? In continuing to evolve that message, looking back at lead sourcing, where'd that deal come from? Did it come from a webinar? Did it come from someone downloading white pages? Did it come from an RFP? things like that. So who are we losing to? But also, who are we beating in every deal? So it's always fun to look at those. So those win-loss reports, so those are pretty consistent everywhere that I've been. But any other kind of standard KPIs, you have your deal cycle, how long does it take to close a deal, average deal size, things like that. But typically, what I've found that is it's what's the strategy of your organization. And one thing that I always ask in those strategy meetings is, all right, what's your desired outcome? All right, that's, is it to grow sales by 20% in this region? Okay, so what kind of steps do we need to do that to get there? Do we need to get more leads at the top of the funnel? And typically those kind of conversations drive what kind of KPIs you want to be tracking. One thing that I always love doing is showing value, whether it be in a change and saying these KPIs, these things will improve with this process change. Or, hey, we've invested X amount of dollars into this product. All right, now how do we make that, how do we go to market? How long is it going to take for the market to buy into, that new product and things like that. So, like I said, specific KPIs, they're kind of all over the place, but like I said, it kind of comes back to what's the desired outcome and the strategy of your business.
For sure. And I think the master stroke there is really digging into that qualitative data and then the feedback loop, right? So, okay, yep. We lost 3 deals to this company. Let's change the subheadline on the site because we're not focused on that. And that I think that's really important.
Yep.
Finally, who has taught you the most in sales operations?
Yeah. So kind of looking back on my career, I can think of 3 or 4 folks that kind of really stand out. Matt Dooley first hired me back at Angie's List. And again, coming out of college, not really sure what I wanted to do, kind of showed me the ropes, kind of taught me the importance of branching outside not only, the different sales teams, but, other business functions, finding mentors, partnering folks with, and really kind of given me the keys to kind of start my sales operations career and just being a resource to use. Also at Angie's List, Mike Retz, I met him, I think, day one of the job, and he kind of drove me to be better every day. So really appreciate that. My last stop at Duo, Erin Howell, she brought me on. She was director of sales operations there, and just said, hey, it's up to you to partner with sales leadership, marketing leadership, finance leadership, product leadership, and really build your brand within the organization. So she kind of brought me on board, made the soft introductions, and then let me run wild with it. So that was a big help. And then here, the past 4 months, had the opportunity to work with Lee Orr, kind of came in and drove a whole bunch of process changes to our sales team. And again, just said, here you go, make it happen. And really appreciate that 4 months that I had with him.
Awesome. So I have Matt Bewley, Mike Retz, Erin Howell, and Lee Orr.
Yep.
Fantastic. Okay, that brings us to the end of the interview. Now, here are the things. I have a lot of notes. I like the initial insight about the customers being salespeople. I thought it was really powerful. The feedback loop from the closed loss reasons. I think every sales team or sales leader or sales ops person should be doing that. And then, the still maintaining the one-on-one relationship with the sales team as it scales, but maybe switching from reps to managers or leaders as that does scale, but still keep the one-on-one relationships. Awesome. Thank you so much for that sales off wisdom. It's been an absolute pleasure, Jeff, and thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy holidays.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Sales Ops Demystified podcast. If you are listening on a podcast listening application, then please subscribe, rate, and review. And if you have any questions about the show, if you know a guest, or if you have any questions about sales operations, just hit me up at tomhunt@ebster.com. That's tomhunt@ebster.com.